Hi everyone, Robert with Odd Random Thoughts, and I just wanted to do a little update video here on my network setup. I've added a ESXi server. It's the one sitting there on the left. If you watched the previous video, you know that I just had the red and black box there. That's my NAS for free Unix storage server, and it's also a Plex media server, and it houses all my documents and everything and runs backups for all the computers on the network. But I wanted to show you this little box down here that I built. It was actually, let me see if I can get down here where you can take a look at the case. It's a Compaq Presario case, and actually the motherboard that was in it, I'll show you that. This little proprietary board down here that has the I think it's a Celeron processor that's soldered on the board, so there's really not a whole lot of upgrading you can do. Surprisingly, this motherboard actually holds up to 16 gigs of RAM, but it only has like a 1.2 gigahertz processor. So I yanked that little sucker out and I put in a gigabyte. Here's the box up here. You can see the H55M gigabyte, the UD2H. I put that in along with a i7 processor and 16 gigs of RAM. And let me pull it out here for you, see if we can get a look inside. And as you can see here on the back, I have two network ports. One is onboard and one is a card that I added in, so I could get two separate networks on my ESXi server. Just kind of help balance the load a little bit. Let's see here. It's kind of hard to do this with one hand, trying to hold the camera. Let me get my trusty screwdriver here so we can get into the case. And I'll just give you a peek inside as to what I added. Okay, there you can see the gigabyte motherboard, and there's the little small PCIe card that I put in, which is an Ethernet card, and I went with the G.Skill Rip Jaws RAM. Put in 16 gigabytes. And I just went with the stock cooler because I'm not doing anything real intensive like video processing or anything like that, so figured that would be plenty. I believe it's a i7-960, I believe, is the processor that I put in. I can't remember. It's been a little while since I built this, but anyway, it's a quad core with hyper threading, so I get 8 cores out of it and 16 gigs of RAM. It works great for an ESXi server. I'm going to go ahead and close this back up. And I also wanted to, that little small micro ATX board just fit perfect in this case. So it was just kind of meant for each other. Definitely what came in its stock was not usable, especially for what I wanted to do, and I thought about even just upgrading the RAM and making a little Windows machine out of it or something, but even the processor that was in it was not, sorry about my camera etiquette there, y'all. It's really hard with one free hand there, but anyway, I just wanted to show you all the box that I put together. if you've been keeping up with any of the Linux videos that I've been doing, then you may have wondered what my virtualization setup was, because that's where I've been running all the servers and machines for all the videos I've been doing. Now I want to take a look at the vSphere client, and I'll kind of show you what I got set up in there. And so hold on, let me get to the computer terminal here, and we'll take a look at the ESXi client. Alright, so got me a fresh cup of coffee and got set down here in front of the computer, and I've got the ESXi, the vSphere client, open here. I wanted to show y'all around a little bit. A lot of y'all are probably familiar with this stuff already, but just in case you're not, I thought I would kind of show you what I got going on here. Here you can see, and I got a couple of corrections to make on myself here from the first part of this video, but the processor that's in it's actually an 860. It's Intel i7 860. It's 2.8 gigahertz. You can see here, and over here shows the core capacity and the megahertz that you're using, and your total RAM capacity. You can see I got the 16 gigs, and currently I'm using 10 and some change, and the majority of that is on this Windows 7 VM I've got going here. You can go to it and take a look at the summary. Excuse me. And I've got, let's see here, there's 6 gigs of host memory being used on this guest. So that's where the majority of that 10 is at. I've got a mail server running, and it's using, it's actually 2 gigs. It's only consumed 1.5 so far. It kind of stair steps what it needs. And then I have a web server running as well, and it's also got 2 gigs on it. So that's where the 10 gigs are. Now the web server, you saw I did a video on how to create one of those. This is actual production web server and mail server both, and I will probably do a video here before too long on how to create your own mail server, so you might want to keep an eye out for that one in the near future. But I've got several others on here. I've got an Ubuntu desktop machine, an instance of ClearOS, and here's our YouTube test server. This is the machine that I use for all of the tutorial videos that I do for Linux. And then I have a Windows 12 server R2 and a Windows 7 Professional, and these are running. Let me show you. We'll take a look here at my network configuration, and here's the 2 network cards that are on the server that I showed you a minute ago. And on the main network adapter here I have a VM network. It's also got my management network, and a lot of people tell you put your management network on a separate NIC, this, that, and the other, and you can do that. But since this is a home environment, I just kind of meld things together where I see fit. So on this first NIC here I have the web server and the mail server running, and then I have a few others on here too. And you see the Windows 2012 server up here as well as down here, and the reason for that is because in this switch down here it doesn't have a physical adapter, but the network card that is attached to this 2012 R2 server here is acting as a LAN card.
because I have it set up with Active Directory, DHCP, DNS, and it's also set up for NAT as a router for machines that are on this same switch. So I can actually pull internet access from this first NIC on the R12 server, and it goes through NAT, and it routes DHCP to the other machines on this switch and allows them to have internet access through the gateway. So that's kind of one of the things you can do with ESXi. And I have this other network card here that has the Windows 7 professional VM running, and that's where our YouTube test server resides as well. I do that just so all the traffic to the VMs isn't going over the same physical adapter. It just kind of helps balance things out a little bit. And you can move these around wherever you want. Like if you right click on one of your machines and go to edit your settings, and you go to your network adapter, you can pick which network you want it to reside on, and you can actually do that while they're running, and it will change networks. Let's see what else we can talk about here. Another thing, once you and I'd like to add that this is ESXi 5.1, and the reason I have not upgraded is because of the Realtek NIC onboard LAN that is on that motherboard. Realtek does not get along with ESXi 5.5 and above. You can install up to 5.1 and it will recognize the network card. It has the drivers on there. I did try to inject the drivers into a 5.5 and a 6.0 disk for ESXi, and it wouldn't work properly. For some reason it rejected the drivers, so, and I hear you can do that on 5.5, but it didn't work out for me so well, so I just run 5.1. It allows me to use that network adapter, and the TP-Link didn't seem to have any trouble. It worked okay, but anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. That's why I'm running the 5.1 version. Let's go back to configuration here. You can configure storage adapters. If you have iSCSI targets or anything like that you want to define, you can set all that up here. Here's your network adapters. Another thing you want to do when you first configure your server is you want to go to time configuration and go to properties and make sure that you have set up a internet time source. I just use the time.windows.com. You just click add, put in your server, and then you can restart it. It'll take on the settings of that, and it'll keep your time updated. And then what you can do is go to one of your virtual machines to edit your settings, and you can go up here to options under your VMware Tools, and if you check this box to synchronize the guest time with the host, then that will keep all your VMs time updated as well, so all your servers and everything will stay, their time will stay accurate. And here's another feature I like, is to be able to check and upgrade tools during a power cycle, so it will do that automatically for you. You don't have to keep getting that annoying pop-up that says there's a new version of VMware Tools, blah blah blah. So by checking that, it'll do it when you restart the guest OS. And there's a lot of settings you can play around with in here. You can add hardware. Here under your disk drive, you can actually go to your data store. And a cool thing about this is if you go to your storage, and if you double click on your data store, here I've just allocated the entire hard drive, which is a 500 gigabyte in this server. But you can double click, you can right click and go to Browse Data Store. And then here I've created a folder called OS Images. And you can go into that and you can actually download files, or you can upload files into this data store folder. And then whenever you go and get ready to install a new VM under your CD drive, you can just pick your data store and browse, and you can go into your data store and then into your OS images and pick which one you want to use, and then just check this box up here that says connect it, power on, and then whenever you boot up the machine, it'll automatically boot whatever OS you've assigned through that data store. So that's really a cool feature to be able to do that. Another thing that I like here is the virtual machine startup and shutdown feature. If you go to properties on it, you can actually, if you see here, I have automatic startup set for my web server and my mail server with a 60-second delay on each for shutdown and startup delay. That way everything is not rolling at the same time, you know. So, and all you do is just you click on one and move it up into the automatic start and hit OK. And then whenever you reboot your ESXi server, whatever's in this automatic start section will come online automatically. That way you don't have to go in and start them up. I like to keep also this Windows 7 VM up because it's actually a terminal server that I use on any computer in my house. If I want to use Windows 7 or something like that, I just pop open a remote desktop and I've got my instance of Windows 7 there, because one of my laptops only has like 4 gigs of RAM, and so if I want to do something a little more memory intensive, I can just open up that remote desktop session, and then I'm working with 6 gigs of RAM. So you can see how that can be kind of beneficial. And then it's going to use, of course, the processing power and the RAM off of the ESXi server instead of your physical machine. So that's a great deal. But anyway, other than having console access, like you can go to console on one of your VMs, and you can see here's the console for my mail server. Or you can go to like the Windows 7 VM and go to the console, and then you have your desktop login session. Of course, to use the VM with remote desktop, you don't have to be logged in. In fact, it'll actually log you out if you log in through remote desktop. So, but if you ever get locked out of your server or something, you can just go to the console and have direct console access to that server. So that's a neat feature. We can look here under Virtual Machines tab and see all of my machines, how much hard drive space is allocated, how much is used, CPU and memory that's consumed, and how much is currently being used, which is pretty much nothing right now because I'm not really doing much on these. But resource allocation, you can look at your CPU, your memory, or your storage. Pretty cool. And then you also have performance meters here, and you can switch to different types of meters. Like if I want to look at the memory, I can switch to memory, and it shows all of my my hosts and how much of all that's being used. So pretty cool deal. But anyway, I just wanted to show y'all my ESXi server and kind of give you a look at the back end of my tutorials and where all those machines are running. So hope you enjoyed the video. Not real whole lot of information in here anything to learn. Maybe there is, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video. And keep an eye out for that mail server tutorial. It's going to be coming before too long, so we'll see you then. Bye bye.